So we're going to do 2 and 3 together. And your formula chart will have the formulas that you need for the surface area or volume, whichever one each problem is. So I think you have your copy there. This number 2 says a rectangular pyramid and a right triangular prism are shown below. So it's important that to know that it's a right triangle. Okay, so if you look at it, the triangle base is a right triangle.
Yeah.
It wants to know the ratio of volume of the pyramid to the volume of the prism. So that means you find the volume of this one and put it over the volume of this one. Okay? Because a ratio is a fraction. Okay? So ratio is always a fraction. So we'll have to do the volume of this one and the volume of this one to answer the question. So for pyramids, the volume formula is the 1/3 BH. Now, remember, big B is area of the base. In that case, this one, the base is a rectangle. So you find area of a rectangle by just doing length times width. So 12 times 14. And then the height of our pyramid is 10. Okay? And so, yeah, we can just put this in the calculator. The numbers are kind of big. So we've got 12 times 14 times 10. And then we're going to divide by 3. So we've got 560. And that's centimeters cubed because it's volume. But remember, that's going to be the top of our fraction because it said pyramid to prism. So when you're doing ratio, you go in that same order. Now for the prism, it is a right triangular prism, and the formula for prism for volume is big B times H. So on this one, remember the H is the distance between your bases. So your bases on a triangular prism are the triangles. Okay? So the distance between them is this one. So this is H. So area of a triangle, which is what big B is, we have to kind of look back at our area formulas. And we have a triangle's area is half BH, half base times height.
Yeah.
So when you look at this, the base is 12. So we got half times 12. And then the height is 10. And the height of the triangle. So we're talking about base times height. Now, this one over here, the height is the one we talked about here. It's the 14. So, technically, this is big B. So you got 12 times 10.
Divided by 2.
Divided by 2. And then we're going to do times 14. So
140.
Yeah, 840. So it's also centimeters cubed. So since they're the same units, we can just put this on the bottom of the fraction. And then you reduce the fraction. They both end in zeros, so that's 56 over 84, but it might reduce further. So 56 divided by 84 is 2/3. What that means is that the volume of this shape is 2/3 the volume of this shape. Now, had this question asked for the scale factor, it would have been opposite. Because with scale factor, they're asking what do you multiply the first one by to get the second one. So in that case, the second one always goes on top. But it said ratio. So we talked about ratios and scale factors before. They're related to each other, but they're not the same thing. They're reciprocals. The fractions get flipped.
Right.
Okay? So that's number 2. Number 3 says, to make a solid brick weight, 20 metal spheres with radii of 10 centimeters are melted down and poured into a box that has a base of 40 centimeters long and 50 centimeters wide. And it says, what is the height that the liquid metal reaches when poured into the box? So, we have spheres to start out with. And our volume, and it might not say volume, but we're talking about like how much it holds. So that's a volume. So volume of our spheres is the 4/3 pi r cubed. So 4/3 pi r cubed. And in this case, there's 20 of them. So whatever we get for 1, we have to multiply by 20. So we'll put in our radius, and radii is just plural. They said radii because there was 20. It's just radius for each. So we got 10 cubed for the radius. So let's see. Order doesn't matter because there's no adding or subtracting. It's just multiplying and dividing. So it doesn't really matter which order you put it in. I'll just put it exactly like it shows. 4/3, then 10 cubed, then times 20. And whatever I get, I'll just put pi with it. So that said 80,000 over 3, and there's a pi there. Now, somebody's wandering down the hall. That's the volume. And I mean, we could round here, but I'm going to wait and round at the end. This is the volume of the spheres. Now, they're telling you they're putting it in a box that has a base that's 40 centimeters long and 50 centimeters wide. So it doesn't really matter which one's which, but you have a box, okay? I'm not great at drawing these, but you have a box, okay? Now, they want to know when I pour this into that, how high it goes up. Well, our volume formula for boxes, which are prisms, specifically rectangular prisms, is length times width times height. Okay, that's the formula for the box. Now, the good news is we already know how much volume it's going to be. It's this. So our volume becomes the 80,000 pi over 3. And when you look at the box, we already know the length and the width. So that becomes 40 times 50. But what we don't know is the height. So that's the only variable left here. So when you do 40 times 50, we'll have a number. So let's see what that number is. 40 times 50. That's 2,000. So you could write this right here as 2,000. So I'm just going to put it like that because I don't feel like rewriting it all. If I have 2,000 h, that's like 2,000 times h. How do I get rid of the 2,000 in order to get h alone? What do you always do to get rid of times?
Divide?
Yeah, we divide. So I'm going to divide this number over here by 2,000. And this will give me my h. So I'm going to put this back into the calculator, the 80,000 pi over 3. So I've got the 80,000 over 3. I'm going to put pi. And then I'm going to divide that by 2,000. And it says nearest tenth, so 1 decimal place, that's 41.9. So the height is 41.9 centimeters. And the reason that it didn't matter how tall the So if you look back in the videos, you'll be able to find the answers from 5th and 6th period. And that'll only leave 2 problems left for 8th period to do. So if you want to check back then, you could get those. So this should be a free, easy 100, but you did need to know how to do this stuff in order to be ready for the test, which tomorrow's the review, Friday's the test. Okay?